the Last Supper. Let's look at what Judas did first. Judas spent 3.5 years or so walking with Jesus, seeing all that he did, teaching, hearing him teach, seeing the miracles. What would motivate him to do what he did? As Christians, we tend to demonize Judas a little bit more than I think we should. You see, if we push him off as someone special doing this horrible thing, then we are losing the lesson that we can learn from this. It's true that Jesus said, better for this person as if he had never been born. And it was predicted from ages past that he would do, but why did he do it? More than likely, he did it for political reasons. I believe more than any of the other disciples, he was listening to what Jesus said and truly understood that they weren't going to Jerusalem to make Jesus king. And Judas felt like he needed to push the issue. He needed to push Jesus into it. He saw him heal the sick, raise the dead, walk on water. In a crowd that wanted to stone him, he just turned and walked through the crowd. He knew what Jesus could do. And as a matter of fact, Jesus said to Peter, right now I could call thousands of angels and they would deliver me from this. That's exactly what Judas wanted him to do. He knew about Elisha when the servant saw the army and Elisha said there's more people on our side than their side, and finally adjusted his eyes and he saw that the mountains were filled with chariots like fire. So when Judas saw that Jesus wasn't going to call in the angels, do the miracle, but allowing himself to be crucified, the money? No, he didn't want the money. He threw it down and said, I don't want this. I have betrayed an innocent man. Then that haunting statement, better if you had never been born, went out and hung himself. A few other little things in the story. You probably know that the fact that carrying jugs of water was a woman's job. It would be embarrassing for a man to actually have to do that. So the fact that Jesus sent him into the city to look for that, I often wondered what happened that actually caused that man to have that in his hand walking through the streets. It had to be embarrassing for him. And when he got to the house, he probably ducked in there real fast. I think a little bit of humor here on God's part to actually have that man do that. Also, the issue of the day of Passover was really the next day. To eat the Passover meal should have been done after 6 o'clock the next evening. Jesus was actually in the day of preparation. That evening and all the next day was the day of preparation. Some feel that Jesus was going by the Assyrian calendar, which would be a little different, and maybe he was eating the meal during that particular calendar, which they went by the solar calendar, not the calendar that is based upon the moon. Others feel that allowances were made for those who could not celebrate Passover on the actual day, that they could do it on the day of preparation, and that Jesus was using that so that the next day at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, Jesus would die exactly when the lamb was killed for the Passover meal. We talked before about why John would be leaning back on the breast of Jesus. And like we said before, John would be on the right hand of Jesus, and John would be leaning on his left hand, eating with his right hand. Jesus is right over here. And so to talk to that person, rather than turning this way, simply would lean back and talk this way. And so that's the reason why John is leaning back. That's not where he stayed all the time. It's just that when he had something to say, that's what he would do. Well, so many things we could talk about in this story, but come back next week when we give you more insights on the story of the week. We'll see you next week.